I don't know why they didn't let me come here, Mama. So I would have sat here just like this. And I wouldn't have made you tired or sad. I just wanted to tell you that I love you. And I miss you.
When the little girl noticed someone at the door, she angrily rushed out.
You were spying on me!
Her anger wasn't just because she suspected Marty of spying on her. Missy was also furious because Marty was her new stepmother, brought home by her father not too long ago. It was hard for her to accept that someone she barely knew would witness such a personal moment. Her talking to her late mother. Marty wanted to explain, but Missy wouldn't even give her a chance.
I hated that you're here. Bye before you came. I wish it was spring so you'd leave.
People often say hurtful things in moments of anger, lashing out at those closest to them. Missy's harsh words deeply upset Marty, who began packing her things, ready to leave immediately. After all, she wasn't truly married to Missy's father, Clark. A few days earlier, Marty and her husband, Aaron, had come west to start a new life, but Aaron passed away unexpectedly. With no way to return home until next spring, Marty had no choice but to marry Clark. Clark, however, didn't marry Marty for himself. He hoped her presence would help teach Missy to read and, as a mother figure, help Missy open her heart again. But after everything that had happened, Marty felt she had lost all hope of connecting with Missy and just wanted to leave Clark's home. Yet, Clark urged her not to give up, still believing that Marty's presence would bring something new and positive into Missy's life.
How do you know? That's what I prayed for.
Clark's gentle reassurance calmed Marty down. She glanced at the red dress on the bed, the one Missy had wanted to show her mother, and suddenly realized what she needed to do. She found Missy's dress, checked its size, and decided to cut up her beloved red dress to make something special for Missy. That night, she worked tirelessly, sewing until dawn. When the sun rose, Missy awoke to find Marty, who hadn't slept all night, holding a new dress just for her. A smile finally appeared on Missy's face. In that moment, when Clark saw his daughter, he was taken aback. Missy looked just like her mother in that red dress. He hugged her tightly, tears welling up in his eyes, silently thanking Marty for her effort. The three of them headed to the town party together, and Missy, in her stunning red dress, became the center of attention. Everyone was speechless, amazed by her transformation. With newfound confidence, Missy pushed past the boy who had once picked on her. From now on, no one would tease her about not having a mother. On the way home, the jostling of the wagon made Marty suddenly feel the baby move. To her surprise, Clark noticed right away.
When do you expect it?
February.
Marty was taken aback. How did Clark notice that she was already pregnant?
When Ellen was expecting Missy, she'd hold on to her belly, like you just did.
She felt a bit embarrassed. When they got married, she hadn't mentioned that she was pregnant with her late husband's child. But to her surprise, Clark didn't seem to mind at all.
Actually, I was thinking I'm glad you're gonna have a little one to remember him by.
Since that day, everything seemed to fall into place. Missy no longer resisted reading. Under Marty's influence, she discovered a broader world within the pages of books. One day, while Clark went out alone to pray, Marty, out of curiosity, secretly followed him. In the West, there were no churches, so he treated the mountains and rivers as his place of worship, singing off-key songs. Marty couldn't help but laugh, but her expression soon turned serious. As she listened to the lyrics, she realized Clark was mourning his late wife in his own unique way. Not wanting to intrude, she turned to leave, but suddenly spotted the black horse Aaron had desperately searched for in the distance. It was because of this horse that her husband had lost his life. At that moment, snow began to fall from the sky. Clark hurried home with their dog, unaware that Marty was heading toward the black horse, ignoring the danger. By the time Clark returned home, the world outside was blanketed in snow, but Marty was still missing. A sense of dread filled Clark's heart. Fortunately, she hadn't wandered far, and he finally found her. By then, the snow was falling thickly, making it impossible to see the way back. Meanwhile, Missy, aware of the danger if they lost their way, had a burst of inspiration and began banging on a metal pot to guide her father back. Through her persistent efforts, Clark eventually returned home, carrying Marty in his arms. After the snowstorm, the valley revealed breathtaking beauty. On Thanksgiving Day, Clark prepared a lavish dinner for the family. Missy excitedly talked about the upcoming Christmas and curiously asked Marty how people in the city celebrated the holiday. As Marty began to describe her past Christmases in the East, her voice suddenly caught in her throat. Her parents had passed away long ago, and now the husband she loved dearly was gone too. Seeing the situation, Clark gently urged his daughter to eat more and talk less. He comforted Marty, saying that no matter where or with whom you celebrate Christmas, the most important thing is to cherish the happiness of the present moment. Over the next month, everyone was busy preparing surprises for Christmas. Clark took Missy into the mountains to pick out her favorite Christmas tree, while Marty tended the fire and cooked, teaching Missy how to sew. Missy was secretly making her father a surprise, the very first scarf she had ever knitted. Clark, who was skilled in woodworking, not only crafted a wooden dollhouse for his daughter, but also built a crib for Marty's baby. On Christmas Eve, Clark sat by the fireplace, reading Christmas stories to his daughter. Watching this scene, Marty found herself in a daze. Wasn't this the home she had always dreamed of? 2 months flew by, and when Marty went into labor, snow began to fall heavily once again, blocking the roads and preventing them from getting a doctor. The only person who could help was Clark, who had experience delivering calves. Surprisingly, he seemed quite calm about it.
Birth is a natural event, Marty.
Oh, you feel what I'm feeling and tell me how natural it is. Now get out!
Even though Marty resisted with all her might, the labor pains quickly made her give in. With a loud cry, she gave birth to a baby boy. She named him Aaron, after his father. As the snow began to melt and the earth started to awaken, the day of Marty's planned departure drew closer. Yet, for some reason, she found herself becoming more attached to this land. One day, while goofing around in the field with Clark, they both burst into laughter. Something unspoken sparked in the air between them. Just when Clark finally mustered up the courage, the baby's cries interrupted them, and Marty hurried away. Her racing heart told her that she might be falling for Clark. But what about her late husband? She still missed him too, and suddenly, she didn't know how she felt anymore. One day, the barn suddenly caught fire. Clark worked hard to rescue the cattle and horses, but the wagon Marty used to get home was lost in the flames. While Marty was tending to his wounds, Clark cautiously said,
I made you a promise last fall, and I intend to keep it.
Clark wished Marty would stay, but life in the West was hard, and he didn't dare to hope for too much. However, as Marty looked down, she missed the way he silently begged her to stay, mistakenly thinking he wanted her to leave. Feeling frustrated, she couldn't help but lash out at Clark.
Why do you think he'll answer your prayers?
He always answers my prayers.
Really? Did you pray for this?
Marty,
Did you pray to have Ellen taken away from you? Did you pray that little Missy would grow up never knowing her real mother? I just don't understand why the God that you pray to would let such unthinkable things happen to decent people.
Clark wasn't upset by her harsh words. Instead, he took Marty to the hilltop where he usually went to pray.
the truth of God's love is not that He allows bad things to happen. It's His promise, and He'll be there with us when they do.
Marty closed her eyes, letting the wind carry her thoughts back over the ups and downs of the past year. From losing Aaron so unexpectedly to Clark showing up just when she needed him most, offering her shelter and support. Although there had been pain, this year was also filled with warmth, kindness, and a sense of redemption. She had fallen in love with Clark, but that didn't mean she would forget Aaron. She would cherish all their beautiful memories, keeping them safe in her heart. Feeling calmer, Marty left a note for Clark, hoping he would respond or ask her to stay. But he did nothing. The day of her departure finally came. Clark and Missy took her to town, where the wagon heading back east was waiting. Missy was already in tears, her face streaked with sadness.
I wish I didn't have to leave.
Then stay.
I just can't.
Marty gave Missy the pendant her mother had left her. She had already come to see Missy as her own daughter during this time. No matter how far apart they might be, they would never forget each other. After Marty left, Clark took his daughter home. As he looked around the empty house, a deep sense of loss washed over him. He retreated to the barn, locking himself away as he cried and prayed. He cried uncontrollably, and maybe it was his sincerity that moved God. In that moment, he finally noticed the note Marty had left for him. Dear Clark, the wagon train will be leaving soon, but I don't want to go. Ask me to stay. Love, Marty. It turned out that the note had accidentally fallen under the bed when Missy was picking up clothes, which was why Clark had never discovered Marty's true feelings. Without wasting a moment, Clark hopped on his fastest horse to catch up with Marty's wagon. Meanwhile, Marty was feeling down, but suddenly she heard that familiar voice calling out to her.
Marty! Marty!
God really works in mysterious ways. Without the separation, how would they have come to realize their true feelings?
Clark, what are you doing?
If a man loses his woman, he goes after her. It's as simple as that.
I thought you wanted me to go.
I didn't see the note.
You didn't try to stop me.
Until today. Don't leave. Stay with us. Stay with me.
As the sun set, Marty returned home. Missy had been waiting for her for a long time, and for the first time, she softly spoke the words she had kept buried in her heart. With that, the movie ends. Love Comes Softly is a classic Christian movie. Looking back, it's kind of crazy how many Christian movies I've watched. But even though this one has a few flaws, the scenery is just breathtaking. The dynamic between Marty and Missy is also really fun to watch. Feel free to share your thoughts on the movie in the comments. See you in the next movie.